Hey YouTube, so I want to make a quick video and address RV security. I read a story yesterday online about a couple that had some issues with what they thought was somebody on the roof of their RV, and turned out to be somebody throwing rocks onto the roof of their RV. But needless to say, they were scared, and from what I gathered from the story, they felt they were unprepared. So I've always been a big proponent of security and keeping things locked down safe, because I know that if you don't lock it down, unfortunately people will steal it today. I'm just going to show you a couple things I do, and hopefully this will help you guys. So let's check it out. All right, so the first thing I wanted to show you are these solar lights. These I bought on Amazon, and I've had them now for probably over a year. Yeah, a year and a half at least, and they still work amazingly well. They're solar powered. So what I've done is I take industrial Velcro. I'll leave a link to this in the description. You can buy it on Amazon. And I have 4 of them that I put on the RV when I get to a camp spot, and they work great. They put out a lot of light. They're motion sensing, so they don't go out too far, so that like you're detecting motion in your neighbor's campsite, but they'll definitely go out far enough to cover yours. And they put out a surprisingly large amount of light. So I keep one here. I keep one here, which obviously when I have my awning out, it doesn't get charged. So what I do is if I remember to, I stick it out like the night before or in the morning. Just stick it out on the table for a couple hours and it'll charge up, and then I can just stick it back up there. And I keep one back here, and then I put one, which I don't have up right now because I didn't want it lighting up the road, but in certain situations I put one right there. And it's also great for if you come out at night to get something. They'll automatically come on when you come out, so they'll light up your campsite, and you can see what you're doing. So those I think are mandatory. I'll leave a link for those as well. And heck, if you want to put more, if you want to put some in the front or put them on the other side, you could put them all over and light the place up like daytime. All right, so another thing that I use, and this I brought from home, is my Ring doorbell. We full-time, so we have a dedicated hotspot that we keep inside the RV at all times, and this just hooks up to that, which runs off of Verizon, and it works great. You could also hotspot it to your phone, and if you're going out for the day, you could just leave a phone, leave one of your phones in the RV, and as long as it's connected to the internet, it'll work perfectly. I've caught all kinds of stuff on there. Raccoons, bear. I caught an elk eating angel's flowers off the table the other day. So here, I'll show you what I do to mount that on here. All right, so here's the mounting plate. And what I did was I mounted it on the flange for my slide. If you don't have a slide here, you could use that industrial Velcro and use that as well. Ring will cover it if it's stolen, as long as you have it on video, so which you will if it's hooked up. I do take it off when we're traveling, when we're moving, obviously. But when we get to where we're going, you just stick it on. You tighten these 2 screws down here with the screwdriver that they give you, and you're good to go. That works great. So that I would highly recommend. Most people don't think that you can use a Ring doorbell on an RV, but I've been doing it for a couple years and it works awesome. The next thing is these driveway alarms. You can buy these at Harbor Freight. I bought this particular one on Amazon because it came with 2 sensors. I don't know if the one at Harbor Freight, if you can get one with 2 sensors, but this one, both sensors work for this. Oh, and the other thing I liked about this one is you could turn it on low. Most of them don't have a volume, they're just like blaring all the time. So this one you can turn on low if you want, because I accidentally set it off sometimes a lot. What I do with these is I usually keep one in my bin here, my garage. I keep one in there, so at night if somebody were to try to quietly open this up and rip me off, it would go off. The other thing I do is with our bikes, especially here at night because it gets real damp, we're in the Northwest, I put a plastic bag over the electronics. This is an electric bike, and inside that bag I stick this. So if I'm not using the bag, I might just stick this somewhere, you know, where it's inconspicuous. But as soon as somebody goes to mess with the bikes, this is gonna go off and it's gonna tell me that somebody's out here. So these are great. You can buy more than one if you wanted. You could use that Velcro and just stick them up on your RV. But these are great to have, and they're really inexpensive and they work good. Another thing that I've been using for years that are great are these Python cable locks. They're made by Master Lock, and basically they're an adjustable cable lock that you can adjust the length. It'll slide through here, the cable slides through here, and then when you get to the length you want, you turn the key and lock it. Or you can put it on cinch where it'll slide in, but it won't slide back out, so you can cinch down. These are great. I mean, they've got a few faults, you know, once in a while I've had some go bad, and they're not the highest security. I use a real long one here. For our bikes, you can get different size cables. This is like I don't even know what this is, like a 20-foot cable. So I use it to lock up all the bikes. Sometimes I have more bikes parked here. But that's not all I use. I also use a thicker cable and a big, heavy-duty, gnarly Master Lock. So redundancy is great in your locks as well. If they can cut through one lock, it's going to take them twice as long to cut through 2. And criminals are typically lazy. They want to get in and out as quickly as possible. If you make it difficult for them, they're gonna leave and find somebody else to rip off. So redundancy in your security, more than one lock, takes you a little more time, but it beats the hell out of your stuff getting stolen. So these are great. I'll leave a link to these as well. I also use them to lock up my equipment on my racks. So you can see here, I've got one on my kayak and I'm able to cinch it down. So it acts, you know, I would never rely on this to hold something. I use it in conjunction with the straps, and also on the bikes as well. I usually have 2 bikes up there, and that cable lock will go through 2 bikes and then around the rack, and then I cinch it down tight. So I know that if my rack were to fail, or if my straps were to fail, it'll keep equipment from falling off because it's locked on there and it's locked down tight. So it's just another way to cinch things on. All right, one other thing I wanted to show you, again, really inexpensive but simple, is zip ties. Zip ties you can get in all different sizes, but they're great for slowing down dumb criminals, and most criminals are dumb. As you can see, my flagpole here, I've got that mounted on my ladder, and I run a zip tie around the top thing up there. I got to climb up the ladder. It's a pain in the butt. And I put 1 or 2 zip ties around up there, and it just keeps somebody from walking up and pulling the flagpole off and walking away with it. Because chances are they're not going to have something in their pocket to cut these zip ties, and they're not going to want to climb up the ladder and make a big spectacle. They just want to walk over, take the flag, and walk away. And they're not going to be able to because I have it zip tied up there. So again, little simple things you can do. As you can see, I've got more of these cable locks back here. I use them to lock the wagon on the back. My ladder here that I'll do a video on one of these days wraps through that. just lock everything up. Unfortunately, if you don't lock it up, it will get stolen. All right, so there's a few tips that I've got for you. Just a couple little things. I've got other ones that I'll show in some other videos that I do. But it's stuff like this, just little things that you can do to slow somebody down from ripping you off. It's unfortunate that we have to be that way, but things like coolers, you gotta lock coolers up, especially if you buy, you know, some of these coolers these days are expensive, and they'll be gone in a jiffy if you don't lock it up. So those cable locks I showed you, those are great for that. You can cinch them down and lock things up. Again, they're not the greatest in security, the highest level of security. So if it's something, you know, really important, redundancy, put 2 locks on it. If you guys have any other ideas, any tips that I might not have thought of, then definitely let me know down in the comment section. Please hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.